An extraordinary 80 minutes at Emirates Airline Park in Johannesburg. It finishes South Africa victorious by 42 points to 39 with 5 tries apiece. Time for the post-match presentation in the company of Owen Nkumari.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew Pierce. What a contest it was, yeah. 2 great sides, but ultimately it was South Africa victorious. A great team effort, but the standout player from the South African team was scrum off, Faf de Klerk. Kosalaga, man of the match, Faf de Klerk. And Mr. Mbele, sponsorship manager from our sponsors, Kosalaga, presents them with the gold coin. Faf, it's good to be back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Can't complain.
Let's talk about the performance. A very slow start, superb bouncing back.
Yeah, I think we that next 60 we knew how we wanted to play, and that's how we want to play rugby. We gave them a few early tries, but just great credit to the guys to fight back and come back with a win against a quality England side. That's massive for us.
Talk about coming back, being back at Emirates Airline Park.
Great, the fans are awesome. Even when we were down, they were still screaming, supporting, and then when the Mexican wave started, the boys just clicked in and we started to play.
On behalf of South Africa, it's good to see you back.
Thank you very much.
Great performance, Faf de Klerk. Now losing captain, Owen Farrell. Owen, a dream start out there today. Just you couldn't carry it on all throughout the whole 80 minutes.
No, yeah, we got off to a good start. But then a few errors crept in, and our discipline probably let us down a lot. Give South Africa a lot of field position, and they scored points.
Bloom, next one. What is it that you're looking to rectify to get back to winning ways?
Oh, look, we'll have to look at the game. What we need to make sure is that we stick together. This makes us tighter. This brings the best out of us. We can't go within ourselves now. We'll have a look at the footage back and make sure that we get the technical bits right.
All the best next week.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, Owen. Winning captain, Siya Kolisi. Clear. I think the crowd here at Emirates Airline Park just summarizes how the Springboks performed today. Good coming back.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. I think since last week already, I think we worked really hard to make sure that we're ready for this game, especially the guys that stayed behind. And yeah, to see everybody here at Ellis Park, we really appreciate it. You know, I think it's my favorite ground for playing for the Springboks. So thank you to everybody for coming out today.
When you were trailing at 24 points down, what did you say to the team?
I didn't have to say anything, to be honest, because everybody was calm. You know, we knew we were going wrong, and then and the guys just picked up the game. We know we had to get tempo, get moving, and it actually came into our favor.
A great victory. What is it that you're looking to improve on come next weekend in Bloemfontein?
No, we're already thinking next week. We're thinking about recovery now. We're going to get back in the changing room, and then obviously there's a lot of things that we must work on, making sure that we start off better than we did today.
3 debutants contributed. They felt that they looked like old campaigners. Message to the debutants, Achies, Snyman, Janki, together with Nkosi?
No, I think I was really, we're all part of the boys today. I think the coach said it perfectly. The only thing you have to worry about is your effort in the field. Don't worry about your first game, And I think they did exactly what they were picked for, what they were doing in Super Rugby. They showed it here today.
Good luck going forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Job well done, Siya. Well, that was Springbok captain Siya Kolisi. Now I'd like to hand over to a former Springbok captain, Jean de Villiers, together with Joel Stransky for the captain's report.
Yeah, thanks very much. And of course, a tough evening for both captains at particular moments in the game. England got off to a flyer, and Owen Farrell would have been delighted with that start. What would he have said to his troops as South Africa came back into the game?
Yeah, well, I think that's where the quality really needs to show, and you need strong leaders within the group to come through. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for Owen Farrell. As an individual, he played really well, attacked really well, made good decisions on attack, kicked really well as well. So, from a playing point of view, he did very well. I thought that decision at the end, just before halftime, when they got the penalty right here, they went for the 3 points rather than going into the corner and applying pressure on South Africa. That was a mental blow and a real psychological win for South Africa.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you'll notice I've spoken about Owen Farrell first because I want to talk about Siya. I want to talk about what he's endured this evening. what he's experienced from this unbelievable atmosphere in this ground, and how well he's marshaled his troops to come back in a game where, let's be frank, South Africa looked woeful and they were under the cosh.
If you are 24-3 down, your first game as South African captain, and you bring your team back to win like you did here, to create this environment, that is special. That is very, very special. So credit to Sia as the leader of this group. But I think a guy like Dwayne Vermeulen needs to be credited as well. Andre Pollard, Beast, the senior guys, they really stepped up. The guys that came in from overseas, Faf de Klerk, Willie Leroux, Dwayne Vermeulen, played really well. So, you know, you got to give credit to the coach, but the captain, it's a good start.
Spot on, wasn't he? Just the one thing I also want to touch on, you know, when you look at what the hype around the history that's been made this week, the emotion that must have been there for Sia. It's been there for all of us. We get goosies talking about it, and that is for all of us as 65 million South Africans, however many South Africans we are right now. But boy, did he handle that emotion well. The pressure, he's really showing himself to be a real man, isn't he?
He is, and he is so inspirational, you know. So this was bigger than just a rugby game, and he always wanted the fairy tale ending with a win. We got that, but it was more than that. You know, this will get bigger, it'll get stronger. You see the people staying behind. The atmosphere here was absolutely electric, and I think you could feel it even when they managed to get to come back again. The crowd got behind them, and you could just feel that energy.
We get goosies just talking about it.
You actually want to get onto the pitch.
We want to go play as well. Well, I can imagine every single person out there's had a game where they've just sat on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's not just for Sia, but also for Rassie.
100%, and not just for the two of them, for the whole squad. You know, for the debutants, for the guys that endured tough times through Springbok rugby already. You know, you want to be able to experience this, package this, and remember it.
Yeah.
You know, because this is what makes rugby special. So to play in South Africa at Emirates Airline Park, to experience this, to see the crowd, to see the people being proud of being South African and supporting the Boks. It's beautiful.
You said it just now.
Beautiful.
We want to get younger game. We want to put our boots back on. We're going to go out there and play. Call over to you before we go and tackle someone.
Yeah, that might be quite dangerous. I wouldn't want to see you guys get hurt. So let's keep you on the side of the field rather than on it.
This is definitely rarefied air if they're talking about getting their boots back on.
This is what's happening. It's gotten cold as well. So obviously things are not working as well as they should upstairs. But Jeremy, we've got to talk about the way that England started the match. They started like a house on fire, absolutely intense. What happened in the second half, and why do you think they lost that momentum that they showed?
Well, so I think most people are going to go, it's all about altitude. So after 20-25 minutes, South Africa got on the ups, scored those tries, and then what snuffled and snuffed out the English game in the second half is that they couldn't get out of their own half. South Africa applied the pressure, got the penalty, but what England should have done was kicked and just played the territory game. You keep this crowd quiet, you're going to do well. A tremendous start by England. Going out, there was some criticism about Brown playing on the wing, but he got that good little pop pass from Ford to May, and that leaves Daly to score in the end. And this is an unbelievable start. Great pass by Ford. May's there involved to get a Slade, onto Farrell. Good centre combination, but they spotted the gap, spotted the space. That would have meant a lot of good communication from the wings from the side that enabled the guys to make that pass. But, you know, the defence from South Africa wasn't too bad. This is all the English tries. Atoji being long, Stretch Armstrong arms out, getting over. But this is at the end of the game, when it's kind of, the game's gone, it's South Africa's. It give England a bit of confidence, but the downer for them will be, that's the 5th game in a row that they've lost. And it's going to get hard from here on in. South Africa will be full of confidence. And, you know, I'm glad Nkosi, Janchis and that scored, played well, particularly Nkosi. It was a great performance by South Africa. This game for me was compelling beyond belief and inspirational.
I'm quite interested in that stat. It was almost 50-50 insofar as possession goes, and that sort of changed the hue of the game when South Africa started holding on to the ball. I thought that England did very well to keep the pull away from the South Africans.
Well, the squeeze came in the second half. I can't say, it's pretty simple. When they look at that, Eddie Jones will be saying to Owen Farrell and the rest of the team, why didn't we get our own half? What are you doing passing balls in your own 22, in fact, in your own half? It took to something like the 57th minute for England in that second half to get even to the halfway line. Silly little errors, unforced errors that we saw. Atoji giving away lots of penalties. Daly kicking the ball through to the dead ball line. Anytime they got any kind of momentum, They made a mistake and South Africa then controlled the game.
Jean, you mentioned something about getting your boots back out, but it took you about 5 minutes.
I need to take your pulse.
It took you about 5 minutes to get here. Just make sure he's all right.
I can guarantee you I'm not like Victor Matfield. I'm never coming back out of retirement. Look, what an unbelievable game.
Well, it really was.
You know, and we touched on it. It's so more than just a rugby game again tonight, you know. So that's, I think, what makes all of us so proud. And to have it a spectacle like today, where both teams participated, where both teams were in for a shot up until the very last second, you know, that's what Test match rugby is all about. And the experience for the people, for the fans, the product that was out there, rugby's on the up, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. There certainly have been struggles from a South African rugby point of view in the last couple of seasons, but so far so good for Rassie Erasmus. It's not the end of the road, though. He's going to be thoroughly tested by Eddie Jones and his England Chargers over the next 2 weekends. But a wonderful day for in particular, the debutants. One of those is Ergia, Snyman and Victor. We spoke about Ergia tons of times in the studio before. Your assessment on how he goes. I know, Mats, you've got the tall guy there with you.
I do indeed, and you know, a lot of people already making fun of me, the tall one versus the short one. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that, okay? But it was just a colossal performance from Ergia. Almost didn't look like a debutant.
Yeah, I must say it was fantastic to see him play. I worked with him when he was 18 years old, coming from Affis to Pretoria to the Bulls, and what a talent. And to come out here, the speed when he went through the line there, his tackles, his defense, he was strong in it. Maybe 1 or 2 times where he could have held on to the ball, where he tried to force it, but he had to learn. It's the first test match. But and then 2 minutes to go, they're 3 points behind, they get a line out in our half. If they get a penalty, we can draw the game. And he stole that ball in the line out, so he'll be very happy about his performance tonight.
And Locks are not usually known for their prowess in the open play, but there he was breaking lines as well as one of his runs that were really stellar. How do you rate his performance then, despite that steal in the line-out, the entire South African team, that is?
No, I must say, South Africa will be very happy. You know what? To be 20 points down with 15 minutes into the game, and with quite a few youngsters in the team, to keep it together and come back like that's just amazing. They'll build so much confidence out of this game, and now they can take that momentum. They need another step. Next week, hopefully they'll pick up the defense as well, scoring the same amount of tries, but keeping England out as well. But they'll be very happy. Like John said, you can't believe people don't want to come to a game like this. It's amazing to be here, to be involved in a game like this, to feel the passion of the people is just unbelievable.
The magic as well. And you spoke earlier in our build-up just about that tight five, how it needs to be absolutely at its best. And there was just one scrum that I remember where Bongim Bonambi and Jamie George were actually called by the referee. And when they got back that second scrum, just the elation in Bongi's face, and also in his teammates as well, just making sure that when we get things right, we celebrate it, just gives so much confidence to the side.
No, the spirit was there, but we talked about the bench as well. Kitsoff, Thomas, the tank just came on. They called him in, and then all of a sudden Kitsoff came through. A lot of people spoke about Thomas maybe not ready for Test match rugby yet, but he came through with flying colours tonight, and it's fantastic to see. Once your pack of forwards go forward like that, it's so inspirational for the rest of the team as well.
Well, another man, of course, that applies his trade overseas, Dwayne Vermeulen, an 8th man, always a stellar prospect for South Africa. And it just speaks to maybe it isn't such a bad idea to see some of our stalwarts plying their trade overseas, getting their game right, and returning to impart and play the way that we saw Willie, Dwayne, and Faf de Klerk play today.
Yeah, it will be great to keep them here, not to let them go,
yes,
and they can help the youngsters as well in Super Rugby as well. But I think Dwayne is such a right-hand man for Sia as well. He's experienced. He's a guy that everyone looks up to, always leads from the front as well, Dwayne. And he's just a person that everyone wants to be around. So I think Dwayne was huge tonight. He maybe doesn't do flashy things, but he stole a few balls. The way he carries the defense, whenever he goes into a tackle, he puts people back. So Dwayne, I think, is a big right-hand man for Sia as well.
He's been absolutely great, and these are just his numbers from the game today. 13 carried, 51 meters made, as well as 2 defenders beaten and 2 lineouts won as well. But we can't wrap up a forward conversation without speaking about the man of the moment, the skipper, Siya Kolisi, in the number 6. And you spoke again earlier. It seems you had all the right ideas coming into this game, that the magic that number 6 jersey carries will repeat itself 13 years later on this here turf, Emirates Airline Park.
Yeah, Jeremy, definitely don't know Ellis Park or Emirates Park, and yeah, it was just fantastic to see when he ran out, the people, the atmosphere, everything was here, and to be 20 points down, your first time as a captain, to keep everything together, not to lose it, and to keep everyone say, listen, let's believe, let's stay with what we trained in the week. It's a fantastic start for Sia as well today.
And to just see him lift a team, especially at that time when they were 24-3 down, to just get them back and get the tempo back. How does a captain get that right?
I think it's a small step, so you must forget about that scoreboard. You must say, listen, what do we do next? How are we going to get points on the board? How do we get over the advantage line? How do we get momentum back? That's normally the most thing. But look at that, it's just fantastic to see him afterwards go around, and the people stayed, so it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, and that is just what a brand new captain can do. A new broom that is sweeping clean, and a brilliant performance, not only from Sia, but the rest of the team as well. So that wraps up our forward report. X, it's back to you.
Thanks very much, Motsidisi. It's certainly has been a wonderful day for Siya Kolisi. He's going to have a lot more to do, not just for this tour, but for the remainder of his international career. Obviously, next week, it will be all eyes on Bloemfontein, and he did mention the fact that they're going to get over the sore bodies first before they consider what is going to happen in Bloem. But, Jeremy, we can look forward at Bloemfontein. There are a couple of things that will happen immediately. This result has come through. South Africa will feel a little bit more confident with their ability. And then, of course, when you look at the English side, Eddie Jones will want to lift that side immensely. But the South Africans know what they have to do. Yeah. They showed it later on in the first half, and obviously well into the second half of this game.
I think, or I believe, we can expect a similar game. I mean, the conditions are going to be similar, maybe the ground probably harder. Yeah. Good weather. So the encouragement, your mindset is you want to play rugby. So I think we're going to see more tries. It's just about, I think both sides will be worried about the error count. Yeah. Some of the set piece wasn't as steady as they would have wanted. There was a few penalties when the scrum went down that went either way. Both parties won't be happy with their lineup because of those couple of mistakes. But overall, as I say, it was a compelling, inspirational game of rugby. Work out, do the analysis, and then just make sure you don't make those same mistakes again the following week, because there's nothing worse than doing the same thing wrong.
The one concern going into the Test series, Jean, was how the international-based players would slot in back at home, including a team that's got so many youngsters in it, a couple of debutants. Faf de Klerk, though, showed that he really hasn't missed a beat. And in fact, playing over in England might just have been exactly what he needed.
Yeah, look, the speed of our ball today was fantastic, and that really sets you up for a fantastic attacking platform. When you get quick ball like that, the defence does not get time to set. There are more holes, and you can try and exploit that. So Faf had a brilliant game. Willie Leroux, as an overseas-based player, same thing. He brings that kind of experience, he brings that pace, he brings good decision-making from the back, and he's a huge threat in terms of that back three. So, you know, both of them, Faf again, you know, just looking at the highlights, quick decisions, upping the tempo all the time, putting England under pressure, constantly being a threat, you know. And yes, he did make a couple of mistakes as well, as Jeremy mentioned, and it's being able to cut down on that. But rather try stuff, rather try to put pressure on the opposition than just sitting back and hoping that you don't make a mistake.
What I found brilliant about Faf today was Atoji was almost man-marking him. There was some stuff going on off the ball that we didn't see, but being able to, off-camera, watch it, well, that just shows how well Faf was playing this evening.
Well, Youngs on the other side didn't get so much ball in hand. We know how devastating a player he can be when he gets going, but perhaps it speaks a little bit more to the pillar defence as well of either side.
But on that, still, if you look at the first 20 minutes, the effect that Ben Youngs had in the first 20, you know, when they got quick ball as well, and again giving the platform for their attacking players to attack in the tries that they scored.
I think the key, as you've touched on, Jean, was the quick ball.
Yeah.
We didn't see, if you think about the commentary, how many times did we hear the name Tom Curry or Chris Robshaw? Yeah. But conversely, you think of the South African back row, all of them were being named, and Vermeulen was dominating, not Billy Vunipola. That means their front five must have been working incredibly hard to get that back row into the game.
Well, ever so often you can count on the little guys to provide the big moments, and Faf de Klerk had one of those moments. In fact, he had a couple of them today, and well, because of that, he's been selected for our Land Rover moment. That was a wonderful try, a wonderful moment for a little Faf de Klerk. And I know there was a little bit of debate in the commentary booth. That moment could have gone to the forwards. I think the heavies who I was sitting next to were saying that South African scrum, after the changes, deserved the moment. But it's wonderful to see the debate. We spoke about the debutants. You spoke about Springboks and a wonderful debut that he had. He really looks to be the real deal. He's been playing very well for the Sharks in Super Rugby. He's been able to transfer that onto the international stage, and that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. You can show wonderful form, Jeremy, in the domestic competition.
It's not easy to do, but I think the kind of game that we saw today, the tactics, the strategy, made it so that the wingers were going to touch the ball. They were going to get in the game. You know, back home, if it was raining, the wingers are just chasing all day. But the effort from both sides was to get it to the flanks, spread the defences and really attack. And I thought the most encouraging thing I saw from Nkosi today was his second try, to go from his wing to the other side, get that off Janchi's nice little, so much control. So I'm incredibly pleased for them, but they can't let it go to their heads. This is just their first test, and then see what happens from here.
I can't agree with you more in terms of his work rate. So yes, we do see the tries, we do see them running with the ball, but it's what a winger does off the ball, and his work rate off the ball was really good today, and that led to his second try, scoring it on the other wing. So you know, we look at these clips, and he's always beating the first man. He's always making momentum when he is in the tackle as well. Strong in the tackle, keeps on working, and then obviously he's got the pace and the skill to step guys and to beat guys one-on-one as well. So look, he's a real talent, and like Jeremy said, it's his first test. He scored 2 tries. It's all being able to, or having the ability to keep it all together, staying focused on what is expected of you, and just trying to improve every single week. Next week is another challenge for him, and it certainly won't get any easier. It's test match rugby. You need to prove yourself week in and week out. But those aren't bad stats, are they?
They certainly aren't. So 95 meters made. Said one very important thing is you've got to keep improving, Jeremy. And when you reach the field or the stage of international rugby, a lot of people think, oh, well, you've made it. This is just the beginning, isn't it?
It's just totally the beginning. And what is he, 22 years old, something in that region? He's got his whole career in front of him, and what a beginning. If it was like this all the time, then it would be a magical career. But he knows he's got to work it. It's easy to get there. It's harder to stay there, and that should be his mindset.
Absolutely. So much still to come from this young man, but a lot more to prove and a lot more to work for as well from the Springbok debutants. The English also have got a couple of youngsters as well. They'll be quite proud of. We know that Eddie came into this tour having rested a number of big-name players. He spoke about fatigue after the long season in the north. Do you think there's more in the tank from England?
Oh, for sure. I mean, what an opening. 60-metre kick from Elliot Daly. Then the try, 10-0 up. And I'm thinking my prediction of England winning by 10 points is in the bag. What was it, 23-3 or something like that? I thought, wow, this is an unbelievable game. But there's some new combinations put in there today. Players that haven't got all the experience. There was a tactical substitution, I'm sure, with Ezekwe, because that was 35 minutes into the game. He didn't look injured to me. So it must have been tactical, because Eddie Jones has done that before over in Australia when they did the whitewash of Australia. So I think it's good blooding. Shields coming on. I'm not sure if he made that impact. Whatever was going wrong, I'm not sure if he made any difference, because England didn't get that possession and territory right. So that would be, for me, your front five isn't working hard enough. It's not making the collisions. You're not stepping up quickly in that defensive. Their defensive line in the first 25 minutes was incredibly quick. So that laid off. and South Africa got quicker ball and went to the flanks and picked holes and scored tries.
Very quickly, and I know I shouldn't be asking backs about forwards, but how much did England miss Joe Launchbury?
Well, a lot, because his equi failed.
Yeah.
So Launchbury would have been much better, and he's in form, but they clearly don't want to risk him, and no doubt if he's fit, he'll be straight back in for next week.
Right, well, Motsidisi is still, well, she's been working since the end of the match, and one of the men who certainly showed a great bit of inspirational skill from a Springbok point of view was also a bit of an unknown quantity in the fact that he's been playing overseas for the last season, as Willie Leroux and Mots spoke to him.
Joined by one of the stars of this match right here, Willie Leroux. Welcome back to the green and gold. First time playing for the Springboks since 2016, and it seemed a game where you just wanted to stamp your authority once again.
Yeah, I really miss playing in this jersey. This is for all the fans. This is for my family. Everybody that always supported me. Definitely not a star. This is a 43-man squad of us, and we worked very hard. I think we were a bit shocked in the first 20, but we pulled it back and showed the nation what we have.
There was a moment where you sort of pulled all the debutants together in Apiwe and Sibusiso. What were you telling them in that huddle?
No, I was just telling them, have fun, guys. I'll get the ball into your hands, play what you see. This is just a rugby game. The crowd will get behind you, and it's my job is to give them the ball, and they'll finish.
Well, congratulations. Brilliant game. All the best.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
That is Willie Leroux, one of the stars of this match today, as South Africa celebrate their very first victory in this 3-match series.
Well, and that 55,000-strong crowd certainly did give the Springboks a bit of a lift when they needed it the most. And it is incredibly important to keep the fans quiet for the opposition team as well. But to Kobus Visa we go for his assessment of the forward battles that we saw on the field today. Kobus?
Well, X, yes, what a game of rugby. And you've got the two J's with you, the Jerry and John, and they won't agree with me. But again, I feel Faf de Klerk played an outstanding game, and Pollard, because the forwards made it easier for them, especially in the second half. I thought as a unit they scrum exceptionally well when Kitshoff came on with Thomas Tatoué. But it started with the lineouts. Great line-out ball, as you guys can see. And yes, Snyman and Franco got some really clean ball and made it easier. They didn't put their number 9 under pressure, and this made it easier for Faf de Klerk to keep the English guessing all the time. Snyman can feel very, very good about his debut game. He played a huge game, not only in the lineouts, but also in the tight loose out there. But Dwayne Vermeulen is another one I want to mention. Maybe not a flashy performance, but he did all the hard yards, all the hard graft. What do you expect from a senior player like Dwayne Vermeulen? He's getting back to his best very, very quickly. But again, look at this man working hard, all the experience, and he was one of the players that South Africa needed tonight to step up to the plate to win this game. It was tight. He took some great balls. He's covered a fence at the back, helping the back trio. I think was outstanding for an 8th man. Lift my hat to Dwayne Vermeulen. As I said, maybe not flashy, but all the very hard work, the right things at the right time. Also driving well with the ball, taking it over the advantage line. But as a unit, I thought the forwards all really played well, and it laid a foundation for South Africa and the fly-off, Handré Pollard and Faf de Klerk, to really dominate in a big way. It was a very important win for South Africa. It was a very important win in the series, but also for many other reasons. It gives a big psychological blow to England, but a big psychological up for South Africa. X, back to you and the two J's.
Double J, Kobus, double J. But it certainly is going to be interesting to see how England cope and how Eddie Jones gets his team to bounce back. The one thing that they have done, guys, is base themselves in Durban. I know in the lead-up it was very important, he said, for them to be able to have a little bit of fun, to enjoy the tour. And I think it's still a vital part of touring and a vital part of rugby, Jeremy. Obviously, you don't want it to overshadow what happens on the field, but being based in one place rather than traveling every week, do you think that might benefit Eddie as the tour goes on?
Firstly, be rest assured they're not having as much fun as I had in Durban when I was last here. It's a much more serious game there. But they would have been told by their sports scientists where's best to base, whether come in and get here 10 days before at altitude and stay and train. But with the domestic season, I don't think that allowed it. So I remember when we came in '97, we were based in down on the coast, and the team went up midweek and played at Free State. But the rest of us didn't go. We stayed. So I think that's the scientific side. So that's the That's the information he's got, and that's what he's decided to do. I think more what they'll be looking at now is that first 25 minutes where they got the quick ball. What stopped them from doing that? Was it the power of the South African front five, bolstered by the power of that bigger, bulkier South African back row that snuffed out the likes of Rob Shaw and Tom Curry, and even to some degree Billy Vunipola? So they'll be looking at that closely and working out how to get that right.
Yeah, certainly is going to be a bit of a balancing act. Do you think any of these coaches are going to make wholesale changes, John? Do you stick with what you've got, especially considering how close it was, the result at the end?
I can't see South Africa making too many changes, barring injury, obviously, because it was just you can't really name one player that didn't come to the party today. Yes, a lot of them still made mistakes, but that happens in test matches. So I think everyone did their part, and even the substitutions were made at the right time, and the guys that came on made a massive impact. From an England point of view, if a Launchbury is fit next week, he might come in. Midfield they might have a relook at, but again, there's not a hell of a lot of guys putting up their hands saying I'm so much better than the guys that are in there at the moment. So it should be interesting. And as we've mentioned, South Africa, whoever wins the first test match, in this case South Africa did that. The second test match will be much easier in terms of the series and trying to clinch the series.
Right, well, the English side is certainly going to be relying on their scorers, and they really did come out, as I said, right up front, like a house on fire. But if I look at that back three, and there was a little bit of talk about the fact that you had a fullback playing on the wing, they certainly didn't look, no one looked out of place at all. And given a little bit more opportunity, I think they could have really walked away with the spoils today. What
was it? I think Brown scored the first try, so that kind of put everybody to bed on kind of what he should be there. He was involved in the build-up to quite a lot. The great thing about Mike Brown is his experience. I mean, he's one of the leaders in the England side. The thing that he hasn't been doing well back home is doing what exactly we're seeing, scoring tries and even linking and passing and making that. His first move has always been, in his early days, was to attack, to take on that first defender. Yeah. Then he just sat back in the armchair and started kicking. Then he started trying to make the breaks, and his assist passing wasn't accurate enough. But that's one of the best games I've seen him play, and in support of Johnny May, who can be a mad chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be all over the place, but he's got definite pace. And Elliot Daly, we've seen how important he is to any side.
But if you think back the 80 minutes of the game, the first 20 to 30 minutes, Mike Brown was very dominant. You think the rest of the game, you can't really remember him having the same impact. So it just showed the dominance that South Africa showed.
Right, well, so back to the van we go, and we heard from Gubis a little while ago, and he gave us a little assessment about what he thought were the key, or who he thought were the key performers from a forward point of view. Insofar as the backs go, we go to Joel now, who's also in the Obi van.
Yeah, thanks very much, X. I must tell you, us backs, we hate it when the forwards take all the glory. Like Kobus is trying to translate onto that pack of forwards. They were very good indeed, but the little catalyst in every single team is required. And that catalyst today was absolutely the scrum half Faf de Klerk. He was nippy, he was pacey, he did everything right, controlled the game from the base, and was absolutely outstanding. I must tell you, the Springboks got off to a woeful start. I was very worried about their defence. And just looking at the first two England tries, you can see one pass just exposed that whole defensive structure, and away got Mike Brown to start with, and then there was another pass on the far side, and all of a sudden England had a 24 points to 3 lead as a result of woeful defence. Now this is inexperienced backline players learning their straps still, and I think at this point they were probably like rabbits in the headlight. But what was outstanding was then the way that Faf came into the game, linking with Willie Leroux at the back, and he's the one player I'd like to point out before we get to some of those great tries. Faf released the ball out there. Willie Leroux's angles of running, bringing those wingers into the game was absolutely outstanding. He controlled it. He said in the interview that it's his job to free the space up and get the ball to the wingers, and boy, he did that well. And as soon as South Africa were a little bit more direct, a little bit stronger in the way they carried the ball up, a little bit more urgency, we saw Nkosi with maybe a slightly fortunate bounce here, but clever enough to grab it through and make the try. And then, of course, we saw a little later Gianchi's try as well, but look at this for some brilliant interplay amongst the backs. Willie Leroux once again instrumental. The timing of the pass, the little pop back inside, absolutely fantastic. I think as they go forward to next week, there'll be a little move to maybe say, let's play a little straight, a little bit more direct. But certainly some great signs tonight from a young, inexperienced back three who scored the tries, who were influential in bringing the Springboks back into this game, and most importantly, getting us off to a really good start under Rassie Erasmus. Back to you, X.
Well, thanks very much for that assessment, Joel. And again, it really was, as you said, not expecting too many changes. But Jeremy, your take?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Joel said there. But to kind of go straighter, no. Go wide. England are stressed when you go wide. And I think you look at that South African backline, particularly with Leroux and the two youngsters, they want the ball in hands and they want to go.
Right, well, the coaches are going to have to try and, well, they're going to think long and hard about what's coming next week in Bloemfontein. Neither of them would want to win this, but I think Eddie Jones would be a little bit more desperate to get back into the series rather than let South Africa walk away with a second successive victory. But obviously a lot more work to come for Eddie on this tour. We'll hear from both him and from new South African coach Rassie Erasmus.
Eddie, to use your own words as you stepped up here, that was one for the ratings, 5 tries aside. But honestly, how disappointed are you not to be able to close out what you had after the first quarter?
Yeah, look, I thought we played brilliant rugby. I don't think I've seen a team come to Ellis Park and do that to a Springbok side before. But credit to the Springboks, they fought their way back in the game, got some momentum and were able to score enough points in the second half to win it. And we allowed them back in the game through some individual discipline, some errors, and that's disappointing for us.
The width on attack, though, absolutely outstanding in that opening quarter, and clearly a team playing what they saw in front of them, exposing some defensive deficiency.
Yeah, I thought George, and particularly when we got some front football early, used the ball brilliantly, and even at the end of the game, I thought that part of our game was excellent. We probably missed 1 or 2 chances where if we would have taken them, it might have been a different result.
Poignant moment seeing you go over to the Springbok captaining his country for the first time after the game, and you knew what it meant to him.
Yeah, look, wonderful moment for him. Sometimes the result dims in terms of the responsibility we have in playing this game and being ambassadors for the game and for our countries. And yeah, I'm so pleased for him.
The series was always going to be spicy. It's gone up a level or 2 now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it has, mate. I'm sure you guys are happy. I'm sure the spectators are happy. I thought it was a wonderful game of rugby and showed how the game can be played. You get quick ball at the ruck, you get good set-piece ball, and you can score some great tries. And conversely, defence at times was excellent on both teams.
Thanks for it. Rassie, be honest, how tough was it to stay calm after that first 18, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it wasn't tough to stay calm, and that's why I think the players must get so much credit. The way we felt in the coaches' box is obviously we'll have to rectify a lot of things quickly, and they did it on the field quickly, so well done to them. I think there was a lot of things that wasn't great today, but the character was great, and that's something you can always build on.
A couple of defensive errors early on and perhaps a little too narrow on defence, but England happy to exploit that space, doing extremely well. But the nature of the way your team fought their way back into the game must be the most special thing for you.
Yes, especially because your confidence do take a dent when you're all of a sudden down by those points. But I think the guys really fixed it also better in that, I would say, from minute 20 to minute 60. We were really tight, and obviously they had 3 playmakers there and 3 fly-offs all over the field. And we had a 13 and 2 wings that were fairly young. I think Willie helped him a lot there. And then when Wari came on, he really also did well. But a lot of credit must go to England. The way they exploited that in those first few minutes were excellent.
The pack helped you fight your way back into it as well, and one of your debutants, Snyman, doing a fantastic job.
Yes, Bongi is not a debutant, but for a guy that hasn't played for a long time, I think he really did well. We were solid at line-out time. I really felt we were solid at scrum time. They've got a great scrum, and we were solid. 1 or 2 wasn't so solid. So overall, I think a lot of the guys that there was maybe questions mark, not from us necessarily, just about match fitness and sharpness, those kind of things. And then the debutants, on the defense, maybe not that great, the wingers, but hell, on attack, they brought something special, which was made up for those defensive errors, which we'll fix.
What about the leadership and a word for them in their role in turning it around on the field when they had no choice?
Yeah, especially if you look at the caps in the team. I think it's 330 or something, and against an England team with those amount of caps and those, Farrell and Ford, and there's so many great players in that team. So To turn it around, it's great to turn it around, but to turn it around against players with that quality, I think that's more positive. And again, there were so many things that we did wrong, but we'll build a lot in the character, you know, that's, and then the technical things will finish. So well done to Sia, Dwayne, Andre, you know, Sosa, all of the guys. There's lots of beasts. All of those guys played really important roles in this game.
It sets it up for an absolutely mouth-watering series now.
Yes, I was so worrying it would be a draw, because that would have been a crazy series set up. So yeah, we sneaked it at the end, so yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I think we're all relieved it wasn't a draw. I don't know if anyone would have been happy with that. But it's on to Bloem. You would have been. I get it. But it was close, and one runaway try, it would have changed the hue completely. But obviously on to Bloemfontein now, and we look forward to what should be a crunching match next weekend before they wrap things up, of course, in Cape Town the week after. A quick reminder for those of you who are fans of series, especially series, documentaries, if you like movies, Showmax is exactly what you need. If you are a DSTV premium subscriber, it's a free service. And The War of the Roses is a series that's currently on now, and it obviously delves into the history between South Africa and England on the rugby field. So it's an absolutely wonderful opportunity to see what that's all about. But gentlemen, next weekend on to Bloemfontein. It's too early to call anything for that match, but do you think the pressure is going to have an impact on Eddie, or is he experienced enough, and he should well be, to know exactly what it is he needs to do?
He'll know what needs to be fixing. Whether he can get that message across in time or not, we'll have to wait and see. He was very contained. Normally, I mean, during the Six Nations, he's blown a couple of gaskets. But there, I think because of that, he's been cool. Rassie was just chilled, personified, wasn't he? He was excellent. And that kind of, I think, is a reflection of the team and the impact he's having on the South African side.
I must give Eddie credit, though, for his the comments that he made, and said that, you know, there's a responsibility from all of us to sort of, for the bigger game. And sometimes you play your part, but you're on the losing side. And I think they did that today. And they realized that there is maybe more than just the win that was at stake here today. So we moved to Bloem. We moved past the emotional sort of state that we had today. It'll be a cracker next week as well. Let's call on the whole of South Africa to come and fill up Bloem.
Yeah, certainly would be wonderful to see big crowds like we saw here tonight, and hope they sustain well into Cape Town as well. And I couldn't agree with you more, gentlemen. Certainly not a good result from an England point of view. South Africa did walk away with the spoils, but ultimately today, rugby was the winner. Thanks for joining us. Good night.